Well, going through my emails again this morning, I came across another great subject that I think we need to talk about. What could that be? Let's find out next. Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave, and today I got an email like I do every single weekday from BoiseDev.com. I would certainly suggest you go check that out, and you can sign up for their free daily newsletter. It's always some good information. So today there's a subject in there about rental assistance, and I thought, what a great subject. It doesn't have a good happy ending to it, but I thought that probably made it even more important that we talk about it. So before we get to that, if you like this video, please go ahead and share, like, subscribe. It really helps us get the word out to more people. And if you're thinking that Idaho might be the place that you want to check out, get more information on, give us a call, text, email, whatever. Everybody here on the Treasure Valley Dave team has made the journey, and we're really looking forward to answering your questions to see if this might be the right place for you. And it might not, but how are you going to know until you find out? Back to the story. So Boise Dev has this story about rental assistance, and it's supposed to prevent evictions, but sometimes it doesn't. And I want to kind of go through what's going on here. So this is a story about, a couple different people, but the main person in this is Benito. And he's looking at, he lost his rental house for the second time. And I kind of want to go through some of the things here. It's a terrible situation, and it's something that I wouldn't wish on anybody, which, like I said, makes it really important that we talk about this. What can we do to avoid what Benito and other people are going through? And I want to talk about landlords a little bit, and also what happens now that the situation's here, and then what can we do for the future? So let's just get into that. So it's a terrible situation. So Benito has been living in this rental house for the past several years, and he expected to stay several more, but life happened, and COVID, as it impacted everybody, impacted him as well. He even lost his mom from it, and the downturn from one of his jobs. And so it's, none of that is good. He got rental assistance. Apparently there's a couple of places here in the area that can provide rental assistance. And I think, that's an absolutely great thing. And if you want to help out those people that help people, there's a lot of people in that. I certainly encourage you to do so. But I wanted to look at a couple of things here. So it's like they're making the landlord look like a bad guy here. They're saying that Lopez was supposed to be getting back on his feet. But then a few days after the landlord cashed the assistance check, then Benito was handed his 30-day move-out notice. So it's like, that darn landlord took the money. And, I'm not saying all landlords are angels, but, it is a business as well. Just like the business where Benito was working and then got fired, and so many other businesses that were impacted and shut down because of the COVID. It's not the fault of the business owner. It's just circumstances and the way things are. When Benito said this, it's just like, it's a sad world when it has to come to no compassion for anything. It's a money-hungry world. Apparently, he's doing a jab there at the landlord. I understand that everything revolves around money, but people need to show a little bit of compassion. We were made to love each other and not kick each other when they're down. So, yeah, I like that. That's absolutely great. But the landlord, it's like, well, how much was Benito down? Well, we'll find out in a little bit. It's a couple times. One, he was down $2,400, and in this most recent time, he was down $8,000. $8,000. Can the landlord just write a note to the bank to say, hey, my renter can't pay me, so I can't make my mortgage payment on this house, but it's cool? Or do you think the bank's going to come and say, well, we're going to foreclose on this house, Mr. Landlord, And when they foreclose on the house, they're kicking the tenants out because, it's not owned by the landlord anymore. It's owned by the bank, and the bank doesn't want to be a landlord. Here's some important things that we'll get back to is that, so Benito, he made a consistent living. He was a general manager for Del Taco. Then he fell behind on his bills, COVID, and then one of the Idaho Housing Finance gave him some rental assistance, and he got back out of it. Looks like Benito's living in a nice, probably 3 or 4 bedroom house there. Things started looking better. He found a new job, cruised along through most of 2021, and then life happened, and his mom apparently was having a falling out with her husband and moved in with Benito, and everything's okay. And then she ended up contracting COVID at work, and then fast forward, like a very short time, like within a month, and she passed away. So that's never a good thing. But then going forward, Benito, he had several storage units of his mother's stuff to take care of, and he started falling behind on his rent. He was out of a job at this time because he didn't go to work. And then he applied for more assistance, and then there was some kind of a snafu. So by January, he was $8,000 in back rent that he owed to the property manager, and he never got approved for the assistance and the bailout. And but he did say that he turned to another nonprofit here in the valley, and they paid what Ace, as the property manager, said he owed. And then as soon as the landlord got the money, then dang old landlord gave him a 30 days notice because Benito was on a month by month because he'd already gone through the first year. It became a month by month relationship. So either one, the tenant or the landlord, could give a 30 days notice, and then the tenant has to move out. And it's just the way it is. It's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way rentals work. Benito had to find a place to move, and apparently he was working 45 hours a week, and he didn't have time to find a place, and so he ended up staying after that 30-day period was up. And then at that point, it's like he's staying in the house illegally. He has absolutely no right to stay in it. So that's when this eviction thing kicks in, and the landlord has to go through the whole court process to get someone out of the house who doesn't want to leave the house. It's like being a squatter. Somebody else, there's a couple other people that this article refers to. One of the tenants that they had interviewed for the story said that she got her notice to move out, then she moved out, and then one day after she turned in the keys, the state paid the landlord the money, apparently the assistance money. So there again, it's just kind of like this little subtle jab at the landlord. It's like, the landlord's not due any money. How dare they? The Jesse Trees director said that situations like Lopez's or Benito's hasn't been common. I think that's a great thing, and I'm glad that they're stepping in. And says the big thing here is communication, and between the tenant and the landlord, and I really think that's great. So what Benito's going through is, certainly not the norm. So even though that's not the norm, that doesn't mean politicians can't get in and make some kind of a cause out of it. Lawmakers do what? They make laws. So it's not that we don't have enough laws already. They're going to make some more. So in this case, Democrat John Gannon, he said he tried to bring a bill to the House saying instead of a 30 days, landlords have to give a 60-day notice. Doesn't mean that the tenants can't move out in 30 if they want to move on. It doesn't say anything about that. This had a vote in the committee, and the vote was deadlocked 4-4. So it was very close to, have you heard the term unfunded mandate, where the government comes in and says, private business, private person, whatever, it's like, now you have to do this, and oh, by the way, you have to pay for it, and we'll go ahead and sleep at night and draw our money and not worry a bit about it. That's kind of the sentiment that we're getting from the Republican that had made the comment on this bill. It says, We think we do things to make things better for renters, and we can't make things better for renters without making things worse for landlords. And that's very true. And when they do make demands, these unfunded mandates that we're just talking about, it always results in the shift of pricing. Meaning the one thing that they're trying to do is make more affordable housing turns out to be more costly because now landlords have, if they don't have the direct expense of paying for 2 months of missed rents, then they have to save up the money in case that eventuality happens. It's just an expense that they're going to have to charge more, unless maybe you can talk to the bank and the bank will say, golly, you know what, you're such a nice guy and those renters are so nice, let's just forget about making the payment for a couple months. I don't know if that's going to work out or not. So like I said, a couple things I want to take away from this. One, it's a terrible situation. But I think we need to talk about what could Benito done to have avoided this. He lived there for many years. And he said that indicated he'd been very gainfully employed, steady employment, even paid his rent early most of the time. And it was during that period I would have suggested to him that he find a house to buy. Because once you're in a house, the rents don't go up. It's because your payment is steady for 30 years or 15 years or whatever note you have on it. Even though rents are going up and everything else is going up, your payment to the bank for your house is going to always stay the same. And if we're having all this inflation, it's just not those crazy Californians coming up here and making prices go higher. It's inflation, it's the lack of inventory, and all of this comes together to make higher prices. And if you're in a position where you need to maybe lock in something now so the future doesn't come up and smack you around like it did to poor Benito, maybe this is the time to make those decisions. Landlords aren't evil. Okay, so let's say they are. Maybe you've got some liberal friends and they say, oh, you know what? Landlords are just evil people. All right, what if we outlawed landlordness and we could have no more landlords? Everybody had to buy their house. Then what's going to happen? Well, there's going to be a lot more people sleeping in tents because they don't have the money to buy a house. And then there's going to be so much more demand just immediately that, that's the prices are going to go higher. So those unintended consequences from those feel-gooders that want to make life more easy, it's just going to make life more difficult. It always does. So landlords aren't evil. They're actually serving a very good purpose, providing people a place to live when they can't afford to buy a house. Now what? What does someone do that might find themselves in a similar situation as Benito? Well, don't make things worse. If you're in a hole, stop digging. So it's like, yes, it's very terrible that his mom passed and he had all these things going on in his life. And, I really feel for him. But he made decisions to stop working at a time when he's having financial problems. Then fast forward, he got caught up because of the assistance and whatnot. Now he's working 45 hours a week and doesn't have time to find another place to work. So now he's being thrown into the eviction process, which may come back at some point when he goes to rent another place or buy a house, that it could impact him negatively. So it's like he's making matters worse every time he turns around. 45 hours a week is a lot of hours, but it's not all the time. And he's working at night. It's like, let's figure out a way of making this work. Nowadays with the internet, and we still have telephones, let your fingers do the walking. You don't have to be driving all over the place. Evaluate the situation. What can I do now to meet the needs of, the basic things like shelter and food and transportation? It's like, maybe I don't need this big type of a house. Maybe I could get by in a small apartment. Maybe I could get by just renting a room. This story never said that Benito was married and had a family or anything. It sounds like it's just him. So I know you can rent a room for a lot more than it used to be, but it's still a lot less than renting a whole entire house. And I'm not saying it's a great situation. I'm just saying it's a situation that might work. And I'm not saying that someone has to go rent a room or rent a small apartment for the rest of their lives. This is just a temporary place to get you further down the road to accomplish your plan. And that's the next thing is we need to make a plan. It's like, what do you want? What do you want to see happen in the next 30 days, 6 months, a year? Where would you like to be? Would you like to have all this problem cleaned up and behind you? You want to be in a nice, safe, secure place that you can live while you're going to work. There was a time when I had 4 jobs at one time. I was renting a small little apartment, and I was working a lot of hours. I would have been happy to work 45 hours, but I did that because I knew that this was part of my plan. I needed to get to the next step, and this is just the cost. It cost my time, it cost my energy, and I just had to keep doing that. And there's no shame in that. Shoot, when 9/11 happened and everything stopped working at that point, well, I was still working, but the hours just like dried up. So what I do, I went and delivered pizzas, and I enjoyed it, and I made some great money doing it and had some great experiences. But I was working a lot more than 45 hours a week, that's for sure. What should the end goal be? Let's get that safe, secure housing, get out of our financial mess, and then start building for the next thing. Maybe you do want to buy a house at some point. I would certainly suggest that, like I said earlier, because you can lock in your payments. Your expenses aren't going to go up. Property taxes might, but the big bulk of your payment isn't going to go up, your principal and interest payment. So maybe you put together an emergency fund. And so you have that in case, you need a new battery for the car, and it's not going to require you to go out and go further in debt. And then you start building up your down payment fund, and you just stay very focused on that. And while you're focused on that, it might not be a time to question, do I really need to go get some 22-inch rims on the car? My old Oldsmobile or whatever it is. It's like, no, maybe I don't. Maybe I can live on beans and rice and beans, as Dave Ramsey says, and then get my down payment together and then get into a house. What do you do going forward? You've got this plan out there. I would talk with some professionals. I would talk with a lender. Many lenders will have access to credit repair resources. Just have some good advice all around to help you kind of clean up that mess that has been made. Talk with a real estate agent and find out what houses are going for, what kind of money you should be saving up, what your options are. Can you move out 10, 15 miles and get a house that's quite a bit cheaper and drive in? Or can you get a condo or a townhouse that's closer in and still be cheaper than a regular single family house? So those would be a couple of good things. Also work on getting your income up. Like I say, you might be working a couple of jobs. You might be taking some classes or courses and getting prepared to get promotions or get a better job that you can use these skills that you've been developing. So and in this market for jobs, we have the lowest unemployment rate in the entire country right here in the Treasure Valley. So there's no reason that someone can't find some kind of job or 2 or 3 jobs and then start slowly looking for another job and then moving up and then getting that income secure, getting that emergency fund saved up, and then getting that down payment fund for your house saved up. So there's some things that could be done. Landlords aren't terrible. In fact, if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, I've got some money that in California that I own a rental and I'd like to 1031 exchange it to get it out of California because, well, we know what California is like. Maybe you could consider buying a house up here and renting it out. I've got a great property manager that I deal with, and they would take very good care of your investment up here. Maybe you're already up here and you're finding that you've got some extra money and you want to know maybe what you could do with it. Maybe you could buy a rental. There again, I got this great property manager that I could refer you to, and He could explain to you how he's going to protect your investment. And in either case, you're providing another housing alternative for somebody that needs a rental. And it's the really shortage of supply of rentals that really is kind of keeping the prices up. So if you would like to buy some more rentals, it's going to help our supply and then I don't see rents going down, but maybe it'll keep it from going up faster than they have to. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, click, share, ring the bell. And if you're thinking about maybe moving to Idaho, you want to know more about it, the process or what it's like up here, give us a call. I'm looking forward to it. I answer my phone, send me an email, and I'll respond right back. Well, as always, this is Treasure Valley Dave, looking forward to helping you get home